Remember college. Well, now college is over.
Hello and welcome to this special primary election debate for Arizona's Congressional District 7. A July 15th special election was called for by Governor Katie Hobbs after the recent death of Representative Raul Grijalva. This debate is sponsored by Clean Elections, the state's nonpartisan voter education agency. My name is Steve Goldstein.
And I'm Nohelani Graff. We'll be moderating this conversation with Republican primary candidates, who you'll meet in a moment. Democratic primary candidates are also going to have an opportunity to debate. The way that we are sharing these debates is part of an innovative effort to support democracy in Arizona. Thanks to a partnership with the Clean Elections Commission, the Arizona Media Association, Reister, and Arizona Public Media in Tucson, we are working to make sure that this debate is the most accessible in Arizona history. So that means that this debate will air on a long list of local TV stations, radio stations, and digital platforms, including support from local newspapers.
And we've tried to keep the rules simple. Each candidate will have up to 2 minutes to make an opening statement and up to 1 minute for a closing statement. Candidates have drawn straws to determine the order of each of those portions of this debate. Throughout the debate, we'll pose questions to each candidate, allow them to answer, and then make sure the other candidates have a chance to respond. Whenever a question is directed to a specific candidate, only that candidate's microphone will be open. At all other times, every microphone will be open.
We also want to say thank you to voters across Arizona who have submitted questions for this debate. No candidates have been given advanced access to any of the questions. But with that, we do want to introduce our candidates. Daniel Butierez, Jorge Rivas, Jimmy Rodriguez. And Mr. Rivas, you do have the first opening statement. You do have 2 minutes.
Thank you very much. And also thank you to everyone watching out there. Thank you for the opportunity for all of us to share what we think and what we know that we're going to be doing for the entire District 7. My name is Jorge Rivas. I am a proud naturalized United States citizen from El Salvador. I'm very grateful to this nation for everything that I have. I have a business. I have a great wife, 3 wonderful young men that 2 of them graduated from here, right here at the University of Arizona. So I'm very grateful for everything that I have. At the same time, I know that now that I'm going out, talking to people throughout the district, there are a lot of people that are suffering. A lot of people that the drugs have impacted their life so much. Many of them are on the streets, you know, as homeless. Businesses are suffering. So I feel that since I've been so blessed, I'm not a wealthy person, I'm not a millionaire, but I've been so blessed to have so much that many people might only wish to have. So I want to take my time, some of my time, instead of focusing so much on my personal life, on my business, I want to take some of my time and give it back to the people. I know that my character, my persona, my belief in God, and the willingness that I have, the thankfulness that I have for this country. I'm very grateful to this country that I can put my little grain, my little piece of sand to add to the well-being of so many people that are suffering. I know that many people might say, oh, I know that a lot of people are suffering, but I think God has given me the ability to know how to fix the drug problem, how to fix the homeless problem. And I know if people vote for me, we will be saving at least 90,000 lives every year. We'll take so many people away from the streets. And so please, give me your vote and we'll get to work right away. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Gutierrez, you have 2 minutes for your opening statement.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for being here tonight. This election is about integrity, common ground, and common sense. I was blessed with an amazing wife, great kids. My daughter, at 17, joined the Air Force. She was sent to Afghanistan and served several years fighting for our country and our freedoms. She heard her country's call and she answered. My opponent, on the other hand, was 17 and abandoned his country when his country called. We sent 5,000 young Americans to liberate the country he abandoned, and 21 of them died. Now he's asking the people to elect him to an office he doesn't understand, in which he could send our children to war when he wouldn't fight for his own country. Okay. I will always fight for Medicaid, Medicare, school choice and secure our borders to protect our children from fentanyl, make our streets safer, bring economic growth to southern Arizona, and create jobs that are desperately needed. This election is about integrity, common ground, and common sense. And I would appreciate your support and, of course, your vote. Together, we're stronger. Amen.
Thank you. And Mr. Rodriguez, you have 2 minutes for your opening statement.
My name is Jimmy Rodriguez. I'm running to represent Arizona's 7th District. I'm not a polished politician. I'm a father, a husband, and a businessman. I spent most of my time in construction, vehicle acquisitions, and racing. In 2022, I lost my son to a horrific incident. And for the last 3 years, I've been fighting the federal government for answers and policy change. I've contacted my elected officials and haven't got any results back from them. I've affected change in policy, and I'm running to be the representative that I needed at that time in my life, to represent the people and make real change.
Thank you, gentlemen. Let's get to our first question. It relates to very current events. And Mr. Butierez, let me start with you, and then we'll go down the line, gentlemen. President Trump, in addition to having National Guard troops sent to Los Angeles, has now released 700 Marines to go to Los Angeles in response to protests related to ICE raids. Do you support that kind of action, Mr. Butierez?
Well, it is a mess over there, and I've been following it. And it's like someone took the bottle from the baby, and now they're throwing a temper tantrum, is what I'm seeing over there. This was caused because we ignored our laws. Everybody ignored the laws that were on the book, and they opened up the border. Everybody got spoiled, and now I believe something needs to be done. They need to be held accountable. So, yes, I agree with it.
May I ask a very quick question then?
Yes, sir.
But in many cases, the people who are involved in the protests are American citizens. These are not necessarily folks who have come in undocumented, illegally, however you want to phrase that. So I guess I'd want to ask a follow-up. If this were happening in Tucson, for example, in your back door or your hometown, how would you feel about that? Same
If
way?
they were throwing rocks at police cars, I would want them to be held accountable, which is what I witnessed they're doing over in California. They're throwing rocks at the police officers, spitting on the police officers. We've been watching it. It's not a peaceful protest. It's a very violent protest.
Okay. Mr. Rivas, to you as well, sir.
Thank you for the question. I feel that President Trump is just trying to enforce the laws that we have on the books. And I put everything that is happening right now, the chaos that we see, I blame it 100% on Biden and his administration. Because if he really wanted to help people when he first went into office, he should establish a system to where people will come in legally and we will know who they were. Were they criminals? Were they good people? Who are these people? Now, at this time, when he let in 12 millions or how many millions he let in, we don't know who they are. And that is what's happening. I mean, we had an administration, we have an organization called the Democratic Party that to me is an organization that has become an organization of people that are run by people that lie, just like Mayorkas did when he was saying that this country was safe and secure, the border was secure. He was lying. The organization of Democratic organization has become a chaotic organization because all the chaos that you see is because of what they did. And also, they become an organization that destroys the nuclear families, destroys our cities. So we need to put an end to that. And I'm asking to all the voters to please stop all the chaos.
I'm going to follow up with you in just a second on what you just said, but Mr. Rodriguez, I want to give you some time first, 2 minutes, to address the first initial question about what we're seeing playing out in LA and what if we saw that same protest response happening here, was it right to send in the National Guard, the Marines?
Okay. I see you're referring to it as a protest, but it looks like complete chaos to me. I support Trump in federalizing the National Guard. I think the National Guard needs to have a presence there, especially how we've seen it escalate throughout the past 3 days in California alone. And I blame that on the governor, honestly, of California for not being strong enough in getting the illegals out when he should have.
So, Mr. Rivas, I want to come back to you for a moment because you said, you talked about people not following the legal path. So what do you think about the tactics of ICE showing up, say, at asylum court for people who are following what most lawmakers have encouraged them to do, show up for their court dates when they're asylum seekers, and then ICE is showing up outside?
Yeah, they are looking for, well, they are, like you said, that some of them are going to court. But the problem is, and it still for me is the big question, why that was the Biden administration let in so many people when they knew that that was not the right thing to do. They didn't care about the citizens of this country. The first job of the President of the United States and the authorities was to protect the people of the United States. And if the authorities are going to pick up those people, they're just following the law. And I think we need to follow the law because if we don't, we become a banana republic, and that's not acceptable.
Mr. Butierez, I want to ask you, under the Trump administration, then, do you feel that our border is more secure, and do you support how ICE has been carrying out their apprehensions and moving people back out of the country?
I believe the border is much more secure. They've implemented the laws. The Border Patrol are now working at the border crossings, which they weren't doing before. I'd like to address the banana republic. The reason we have banana republics is because in other countries they have given up their gun rights. They took it more to a hunting. And once they do that, they no longer have a reason to defend themselves or a way to defend themselves. And we send our children all over the world to fight these wars, which we need to bring to an end. So,
Mr. Rodriguez, I want to ask a little bit of a philosophical question. And I don't want to stereotype the three of you running as Republicans, forgive me, but there had been a conservative point of view that the federal government's stepping in too much on states' rights. So I want to reframe the question related to, again, whether you see it as a riot or a protest. Does California, regardless of whether you approve of what Gavin Newsom has done or not, does California have a right to protect its sovereignty as opposed to President Trump deciding to send in? Because in essence, the governor of each state is supposed to be in charge of his or her National Guard.
Sure, but when you have government property, which is why the National Guard was federalized, to protect federal property, I find that that's acceptable. Now, the National Guard's not getting involved with what's going on currently as of yet, but they're there. And I think that shows a presence, and it shows a sense of force.
Mr. Gutierrez, you want a quick follow on that?
sure. Well, first off, like I said in the beginning, they were throwing rocks at the federal vehicles and attacking federal officers. So it's no longer a Gavin Newsom thing. President Trump and the federal government have a right to go in and protect their officers. So,
Mr. Rivas, is there a pathway to citizenship in your eyes? 1 minute.
For the people that follow the process, yes. I mean, everything needs to be done by the books. If the laws are unjust or unfriendly or they're not correct, let's work, on making the laws the way that it should be. But as far as I know, the laws have been on the books for many years. It was the same laws that were used by Obama, by Bush, and every other president since. To me, yeah, there is a path. It's just that we need to follow the law.
Mr. Butierrez, is there a path to citizenship, and what does that look like, or do we stop the flow right now to bring the numbers up to where someone thinks it's acceptable?
I'm American first. I believe in taking care of Americans. We have 900 homeless camps right here in our city. Okay, we have brought homeless from all over the world here that we have cared for, and we'll get to one of your other topics that will address that. I believe, first off, I've been all over the border. I've watched them come into our country. None of the people that were here in Tucson came here legally, asylum or not. It's against the law to cross our border at any point except for a port of entry. Here in Tucson, they were crossing the border at the end of the wall, the Border Patrol driving up, picking them up. I watched hundreds come across every day. So until we get them over to where we can start and bring them in legally, until then, we need to get them out, and they need to come in the right way.
Mr. Rodriguez, to follow up on Nohelani's question, but make it a little bit more. Yes, answer please, but
Okay.
I want to have a quick follow-up after.
I got you. So to respond just real quick to Mr. Butierez, he says get them out and then have them come back in. Well, a lot of times when you are deported like that, there is a mandatory 3-year, depending on how long you've been here, to where they won't let you back in. And if you've been here over a year, it's 10 years. So that needs to be addressed. And I think the pathway to some citizenship here would be possibly to do a temporary work visa for the people that are here, that are working legally, paying taxes, because 25% of our construction workers are undocumented. 48% are in the farm industry. And if we pulled all of those people out, it would devastate Arizona.
Interesting. Okay.
It really would.
30 seconds for each of you very quickly. Mr. Rodriguez, first to you, to play off of the initial question. Dreamers, what about those who are little children brought here by their parents unknowingly? There has been, at times, a feeling of bipartisanship on that let's treat them a little bit differently. Do you feel that way or no?
With me as a representative, I would support Dreamers. I would support a legal way to citizenship for them to be here. They were brought over a long time ago, through many presidents ago, and they've been here this entire time, created families, careers, businesses, some, and their needs, they don't need to be living in fear that they're going to be deported and kicked out.
30 seconds, Mr. Rivas.
One of the things that everybody, well, not everybody, but a lot of people talk about is that the reason why Democrats let in so many people at one time is because they want new borders. Because they think if they let them in and then they give them citizenship, they're going to be voting as Democrats. So if I were to be elected a congressman, what I will submit is a bill that will say that, like the Dreamers that you mentioned, we can give them a green card, but not a citizenship.
5 seconds.
Yeah, because with a green card, they can do pretty much anything except for being vice president or president of the United States. They can do anything else, but I will have it to, like you said, to have a green card, but never become a citizen of the United States.
30 seconds, Mr. Gutierrez, on the Dreamers. Path to citizenship or no?
Well, President Trump offered a deal with DACA. He was going to go ahead and grant all DACA citizenship. He just wanted the Democrats to end chain migration. They refused to do that. So there's no negotiating to help everybody. And Trump's, he's a negotiator. He gave him a deal. I tell you what, I wasn't happy about just giving DACA, and that's just me. But I did understand what Trump was trying to do. I've looked at this. Immigration is going to be a major thing to fix. It's going to take things that both sides aren't happy with to fix it. So.
Another issue that we want to talk about when we are talking about the border, and it was touched on during opening statements, is the drug trafficking. So Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum said earlier this month, fentanyl trafficking from Mexico into the U.S. has dropped 40% this year. So, Mr. Rodriguez, I'll start with you. How would you prioritize limiting the drug trade further into Arizona as well as the rest of the country? You've got 1 minute.
I'd support tech along the border, drones, and sensors along the border, plus 500 more Border Patrol agents to keep that pace up. Talking to residents in Yuma and then also the mayor in Yuma, the illegal crossings have gone down from triple digits to single digits. I think the last report was 7 interactions a day in Yuma, which is very low.
Mr. Rivas, what do you say for limiting the flow of drugs across the border into our state as well as other border states? What's the key?
A few months ago, maybe a year ago, when President Trump met the president of China, he asked him, President Xi, how is your drug problem in China? And the president said, we do not have a drug problem in China. And the same things for many other countries around the world who have the death penalty for people who are trafficking, who are selling drugs or bringing drugs into their countries. It's not necessarily that they're killing those people, but once people know that if you go to that country with drugs, you're going to face the death penalty, people do not take those drugs to those countries. So I think President Trump is, I believe he's interested in something similar. And as a congressman, I will talk to other congressmen and make sure, and to try to get, if we can, a support to pass a law, to pass a bill, to give it to the president, to see if we can install here that in the United States as well. Because the death of 100,000 people is not only outrageous, but in my point of view, is unacceptable.
Mr. Butierez, is it a hard line on if you bring drugs in, you face strict penalties, or is it, as Mr. Rodriguez said, we need more tech to stop the flow of drugs into our country?
Well, for starters, we need to finish the wall. We need to finish it so that we can direct people to the port of entries, so they're not just coming in anywhere they want. I've watched them bring drugs into the Arizona through the end of the wall because the Border Patrol were busy and we didn't have enough Border Patrol and the ports weren't manned. We need to finish the wall. I have been with drone operators that have been down the wall with high-tech drones, and we need more Border Patrol officers.
Gentlemen, let's move on to an entirely different kind of topic, economy and all the things that are under that umbrella. Mr. Butierez, let me start with you. So the so-called Big Beautiful Bill is now in the Senate, and we'll see if there are any changes made. But at this point, specific cuts related to Medicaid have been proposed. More than 200,000 people in this district, CD7, rely on that health care coverage. Would you support those Medicaid cuts? And if you did, is there some alternative proposal you'd have to help cover those people?
Well, for starters, in my opening, I said I will always fight to protect your Medicaid and Medicare. Okay. That they're only cutting out the fraud and abuse in that. And let me explain an example real quick. As I'm a business owner, I hire hundreds of employees here in Tucson and CD7. And if a guy came to me and asked me for a raise and said, hey, I need a raise so I can get medical insurance, okay? Now there are employers, and lots of them, they could say, hey, check this out. How about I give you a pay cut and I pay you cash the difference, and then you can go down and get access, which is Medicaid, okay? Those are the kind of frauds that are happening, and those are the kind of frauds that the big beautiful deal is getting rid of. So
let me ask you a very quick follow-up though. Even when Elon Musk was doing Doge, which of course is still active, but specifically on Medicaid, there are some people who are concerned that the fraud is a real thing, as you're saying, but it's almost like throwing the baby out with the bathwater, that you're also going to affect potentially hundreds of thousands of people who have not been committing fraud because there is cynicism to some extent about Medicaid and about that relation to fraud. Do you think it is worth making these enormous steps to modify Medicaid to get some cases of fraud, or would you like to see it done in a slightly different way?
We are in a financial spot. I mean, our whole country is getting ready to go bankrupt. We need to do something. We just keep kicking the can down the road. I'm absolutely amazed that we got this president in there that's actually doing it. Doesn't care if everybody's mad at him and everybody's attacking him. Everybody always talks about doing this, and nobody ever does it. He's doing it. Let's let him do it.
Mr. Rivas, you're a businessman as well. So when it comes to supporting the Big Beautiful Bill, and if it includes cuts to Medicaid, as we mentioned, 200,000 people in your district, do you still support it? Do you find a way to fight for it? How do you do that?
I feel that the president is a good man. He cares for the people of the United States. And he's looking in the long term, you know, how this country is going to be 5, 10, 20 years in the future. Because many experts in the field say that if nothing is done properly to address all the issues that we have financially, the country is going to go bankrupt. You know, we will not be able to pay the debt, we will not be able to pay the interest on the debt, and so on and so forth. So I think the president, it might sound a little rough or tough at this moment, but I think he's doing the right thing. And at the end, I think he will do he will come on top. And as of right now, I am supporting what he's doing.
So just to be clear, in a quick follow-up, so if you were, in Congress to vote and it included cuts to Medicaid, you would support it, then you would continue and not fight, or would you find another safety net? Because long-term, then you might have people who are already older and need that help.
Yeah, I mean, I do feel that every single person that needs it and is being honest about it, they should get it, and I will fight for them to get it. Yeah.
Mr. Rodriguez, for you as well, asking about Medicaid in the bill.
So had I been in Congress when the bill went through for a vote, I would support and vote for it. Now, when you say cuts to Medicare and Medicaid, there's very specific cuts that are included in the bill. And from what I've read, those cuts come to people who are able-bodied to go out and work. And that's where they're going to have to qualify, basically, at that point. So I don't support cuts for people who genuinely need the coverage, but I do feel like able-bodied Americans, able-bodied people that are on the system now need to prove they're working part-time, going to school, doing what they need to do in order to stay qualified.
Gentlemen, this is a big question to fill in 30 seconds, but as it relates to all of these things, there are a lot of members of Congress who for decades have gone to Washington and said, I'm going to cut the deficit. This is my focus. We haven't had a balanced budget since the 1990s. So is this, Mr. Butierez, let me start with you and go down the line. Do you have this sort of confidence in President Trump? Do you have the same sort of confidence in Congress, or if you were a member of Congress, that it would still actually be able to be a priority? Because we're looking at nearly 30 years to this point where we've had a balanced budget. What will make this Congress different if you're in it?
Well, for starters, I would be voting to cut the budget. Most of these congressmen, they've been in there too long. I believe in term limits. I will support term limits. What's going on with these guys is they get in there, they get into the good old boy club, they start making money, they start making deals that are not in the interest of the American people, and we need to do something about that. That's why I'm running.
Mr. Rivas, can I get a quick 30-second from you on that?
Yes, you can. I feel that, as a small business owner, you need to be responsible with your money. I mean, if I were to spend like crazy, like our government has been doing for so many years, my business would have been going out of business a long time ago. So we need to be responsible, and I have been responsible. I've been in business for over 30 years, and we have done great, and that's because we have common sense, and that's one of the things that are going to be using in Congress, because we have too many people that have no common sense, and I'll be there to take care of business.
Mr. Rodriguez, how big a priority would the deficit be for you?
The deficit's a big priority, and I wouldn't be running if I didn't have confidence in the president, in the administration that's in there now, that we could really make a change and we can get that under control. I think we've already seen that through the cuts in DOGE, or the cuts in DOGE, and I think moving forward, it's only going to get better, and we're going to get closer to a balanced budget.
So part of the strategy also, as we all know, has been with tariffs as well. The most recent ones going into effect impacting aluminum and steel, which then trickles down to consumers with the cost of canned goods starting to go up when groceries are already high. So when it comes to working families, small businesses, manufacturing, do you still support, and I'll start with you, Mr. Rodriguez, do you still support tariffs as a trade strategy, and how do you reconcile the economic impact for your constituents? I'll give you 2 minutes.
Okay. So the tariffs are being used as a negotiating tool currently, okay? Trump just imposed, I believe it's 50% tariffs on metal, steel coming from Mexico. And one of the reasons for that is because that's a portal to the United States. So the tariffs in China, China just takes the steel and metal, ships it to Mexico, and then they bring it in Mexico. The tariffs are a negotiating tool to get that industry here in the United States.
So when we're seeing those, say, grocery stores are already anticipating costs going up, so they're impacting the consumer already. So the negotiation is then trickling down into, the average consumer. So is it still the path to go, or how do you have that conversation with the people voting for you to just tough it out?
So as a business owner, there's something that I've dealt with for pretty much my entire time owning businesses, and it's delayed gratification. So it's, you make an investment, you work, you try to pull profit out of your business, and it's a delayed effect. I think what we're seeing right now in the United States is just the beginning of that. I think it may get a little bit harder right now, but I think that the payoff in the end is definitely going to be worth it. We're going to bring industry to the United States. We're going to start to produce something again. And that goes to show with even in the bill some of the tax incentives that Trump has put. The 100% write-off is back for the first year. If you are a business owner or you want to start a business and you go out and you buy a building or purchase a building, you can write off that entire amount of that purchase or any equipment the first year. And if you're over, you can continue to eat up that write-off years down the road. And before it was 30 years, you had 30 years to write that amount off.
So, Mr. Butierez, then do you support the use of tariffs moving forward, or is there something different that has to happen for the consumer in the end to go get on board with this and go, yeah, because it's hurting their wallets?
Hey, I actually was thinking what Rodriguez was saying, and I believe the tariffs need to be done. Yeah, I've talked to the port authorities. It's something that has to be done. We've been getting ripped off for far too long. They've been taking advantage of us. Every president has said they were going to do something, that we need to do this, we're going to do a tariff, but nobody ever did it. Now Trump's doing it. Everybody's upset. What you said about the stores are already preparing and raising prices is the problem right there. And I'll give you an example. I'm a painting contractor. I own 2 painting companies. And you remember when we ran out of paint, they had an issue with the paint. The paint factory froze, so they weren't getting the paint. Our prices went through the roof. Well, now they got paint. Did the prices come down? They're taking advantage of the people. Every time something like this happens, they take advantage of the people and they never bring the prices down. Once we do get the tariffs leveled out, we need to do something to get the stores and the distributors to not take advantage of something that happened before and bring the prices down for the consumers. And shouldn't be raising them up before they've had their prices raised in the first place.
Mr. Rivas, so you also get some time. Are the tariffs effective? Do we stick with this plan, or does something else need to happen to ease the strain on your voters?
I will answer your question in just a little bit. But first of all, I would like to use my time to respond to what Mr. Butierez said about me in the first opening statement. He was accusing me of deliberately leaving my country. Maybe he doesn't know, but I left the country as a child. Mr. Butierez, normally children do not fight in war unless they are kidnapped and they're forcibly to do that. So please, make sure the next time you accuse me of something, make sure you say something that is true. But beside that, my family, who was members of my family, like my uncle, they were old enough to fight. Not only they fought the communists, but also they died. So I'll appreciate if you are a little bit more truthful with your statement. So
respond.
Thank you very much.
30 seconds.
I was very truthful. You were 17, you weren't a child. My daughter was 17 when she went and fought for our country and our freedoms. So there was nothing untruthful about what I said. Thank you.
Mr. Rivas, I do want to get us back on track and find out where you stand on the tariffs. Do we continue with them, or is there something that needs to happen to ease economic strain?
Yes, Mr. Gutierrez, yeah, there is some truth because first of all, you don't know when I left, okay?
I know you left when you were 17,
Well,
you told me.
You were not there.
You told me you left when you were 17. You told me you left when you were 17.
You were not there.
Doesn't matter, you told me. Did you lie to me?
No, you were not there.
But you told me. As a matter of fact, you told LD20 that you left at 17.
Yeah, but for you to say that I left and I pretty much I was quitting, I wasn't quitting, I wasn't leaving them alone. I was not old enough to enlist, but according to the U.S. Salvadorian government armed forces rule. So,
gentlemen, I understand this is a deeply personal issue for both of you, where you're coming from, but for the sake of the viewers and for the voters, let's try to get them some more substantive answers on the issues that matter to all of them. So one more time, please, 1 minute. Tariffs. Continue on this path or find another way.
President Trump is a deal maker, and everything that he's doing is to make the best deal. As a president of the United States, he's trying to make the best deal for the country. And I know at the beginning it might be a little bit tough. At the beginning, maybe some things will go up or go down, but at the end, he will come up successful, and I support what he's doing.
Mr. Butierez, let's change topics. Let's go back to when you were running in 2024. You proposed a work program for unhoused people, and you would put those unhoused people in empty prisons. Mm-hmm. Are you still in favor of that, and why? Because to some people, it's going to sound very inhumane.
Absolutely. And the reason I'm in favor of that is because I've actually implemented it with my company. I hire the homeless. I give them an opportunity. I help them get on their feet. And giving them an opportunity to work, to earn their self-esteem, gives them an opportunity to leave that life that they're at right now behind. As a matter of fact, I went and spent some time with Mr. Humberto Lopez. He offered me 30 minutes to go talk to him. I wound up there with him for over an hour. He wanted to hear my plan from start to finish. He was so impressed with it. He actually said we should partner up with this guy.
So briefly to follow up, though, you have made it a component as well of an affordable housing plan. Mm-hmm. So talk a little bit more about that. 30 seconds, please.
Okay. Once we get them in the program, and they get a choice, they can either go to jail where they'll hold because they're about breaking laws, they're all doing drugs, or they can go to a treatment facility. They have a choice. Once they go to the treatment facility, okay, they go through a 30-day detox, completely off drugs, no methadone, none of that. Get them off the drugs so that we can start getting their mind right, okay? Once they get off of that, then we decide if they're ready to go to work or if they're gonna need some more counseling. Once they're ready to go to work, we put them out in a work crew. Okay. They go to work. A third of that goes to cover the room and board. 2/3 of it goes to their self, and then they can go buy some affordable housing that they pay for that we don't.
Okay, Mr. Rodriguez, I'm gonna give you a minute on this. Affordable housing generally, and what do you think of Mr. Butierez's plan?
I'm thinking about that plan, but I think that a lot of the homeless out there, yes, they're on drugs, but I think what leads something to that is some mental illness as well. So there's people out there that are mentally ill that needs to be addressed as well, and perhaps mobile mental health stations might be able to aid with that, but we do need mandatory drug rehab programs. And Butierez's idea about kind of incorporating that into maybe some housing, I don't know how I feel about that.
Okay, I'm going to keep it specific then because that wasn't really an affordable housing answer. Maybe, Mr. Rivas, let me ask you about that specific way of dealing with folks who are unhoused. Yes, some have mental illness. Yes, some are on drugs. Others have had bad luck. Others are not in good situations. Should they all be treated that way? Because there are some critics of Mr. Butierez's plan who are saying, oh, maybe that's a practical way to do it, but it also treats unhoused people as criminals, whether they actually are or not. What are your thoughts on that?
But the final result, the question that you're asking at the end, is it to build affordable housing or?
Well, that's what I'm wondering. Do you think that is an effective way of beginning a path to affordable housing, to put unhoused people in this sort of situation? Or would you see it another way? Would you see it putting them in empty prisons? I'm not sure that equates. What are your thoughts?
I think that housing has gone up so much in the last couple of years that not only people that are on the street, homeless, are having a tough time, finding a affordable house. Even a person working at a restaurant or any other place has a hard time finding a house that they can afford. So I think that one of the issues or one of the things that we can do is ask home construction companies to, instead of building homes that are 2,000 square feet or 3,000 square feet, how about if they build homes that are much smaller, for people that are making so much money. And then instead of having to pay $3,000 a month, how about if they only pay $1,500? And that will be much easier for a lot more people to get into a place, into a house, with, make it more affordable.
I want to ask a question about families and the costs associated with them. The Trump administration has talked about wanting to encourage families to have more kids, but childcare has become a huge barrier in the cost of it for any family that wants to continue their education, try to find a new path, go back to work. One of the most recent reports showed that the cost in Arizona was more than $10,000 a year for a child care facility, more than 6,000 for home-based care, and Arizona was among the states that saw the highest number of parents, 16%, having to make a job change that they didn't want to in order to deal with their child care problems. So, Mr. Butierez, for working families, and what is Congress' responsibility to provide a safety net if we're trying to encourage families to grow? 1 minute, please.
As a man who had children that were being taken care of by their mother alone because of my situations, she absolutely needed home care. It wasn't available for her, so she had a babysitter that charged her very little that took care of it. And I believe mothers like her and other mothers do need some help and some assistance. And we might want to look at how we can bring home care costs down, because people are getting very rich off of the home care industry that we might want to look into and put a doge to them too. So.
Mr. Rodriguez.
When we were raising our kids young, it was important to me that my wife stay home with the kids to raise the kids. It was very difficult for us. You know, I would work late hours. I've had businesses, but you know, I tried to make the sacrifice in order to afford my wife the ability to stay home, and we went without quite a bit. I don't remember any subsidies or anything like that coming to take care of childcare, nor did our personal family want that, because we feel that our kids being raised by their parents, not by a school or kindergarten or daycare, is good. I would support a bill in Congress that would help working families out to afford daycare for their children.
Because to your point earlier, also, you talked about some of the other work requirements that you'd like to see implemented with the able-bodied when it comes to other support services. But as we know, with some families, then that's the balance that they're trying to make. They can't afford to work when the cost of childcare is outpacing what they make. So how do you?
So sure. So in the bill, which you're asking me about, is an able-bodied, somebody that can work. Let's say it's a mother. If she has a dependent, that qualifies her to be on the program. She doesn't have to go out and try to get a job in order to get health care for the family. She's got a dependent. She keeps her health care.
Mr. Rivas, to you about supporting families and balancing those costs if somebody does want to make a job change, further their education, but the cost for their children in the daytime or the nighttime is just too high.
Yeah, definitely. I know what you mean. I mean, I also have 3 sons. We raise them facing some difficulties sometimes, but also we need to understand, or it is my opinion that we as parents, we need to be a little more, give our kids a better coaching. Teach them that they need to be more responsible, like I did with my kids. I said, you need to go to college, you need to educate yourself, you need to make sure that before you get married, you have a job and education, because the more educated you are, the more money that you make, life will be easier. And I've noticed that many times when teenagers have kids when they're very young, when they're 19, 20 or whatever, it's much harder for them to take care of their kids. So I think we as parents, we need to do a better job at teaching our kids to be more responsible and to get an education, and that way life will be much easier. Can the government step in and do a little bit more? Yes, for sure. I mean, just like the way that the government has sent $400 billion to Ukraine to fight a war. I think we can use, $200 billion to help the people that really need it.
Okay, gentlemen, I want to change categories. Okay, we haven't talked about the environment at all yet. Water, obviously incredibly important here in the desert. With shrinking Colorado River supplies, to what extent would you stick up for Arizona, Mr. Butierez first, in order to protect Arizona's water supply, which, as we know, post-World War II, this place where we are right now in Tucson, Phoenix as well, would not have grown as it was, would not have had the prosperity it has. How do you help maintain that when it comes to water supply?
Well, I know right now Tucson's talking about recycling water to turn into drinking water, because I know there's a lot of people really upset on it. And I think it's a great idea, but why not take that water that you're recycling and use it on the farms that use a tremendous amount of water, or in the mines that use a tremendous amount of water, and save our groundwater for our drinking water, which there's quite a bit of groundwater here.
But bigger picture on this, federal officials are negotiating with 7 states related to the Colorado River. What you're saying makes sense in that sense, but there is a much bigger picture. How much would you be willing to stick up for Arizona's water rights, even if it meant having to cross party lines to do it?
Oh, I would absolutely stick up for Arizona's water rights. For the tribes need it. You know, this has been my home. My family been here for, you know, over 100 years. So I'm definitely going to fight for Arizona.
Mr. Rivas, 1 minute on this one. How much would you stick up for Arizona, and how important do you think water is to the future of this area?
I think we need to learn a little bit from countries in the Middle East, especially Israel, who has a very great program about desalinization. So I think it will be important, it will be smart to work with them, to learn, and see if we can make a treaty with Mexico, you know, to let us, you know, do something in the Sea of Cortez. Because I think if it's not raining, if there is not enough snow in the mountain, it will be hard to get, you know, plenty of water. But if we can make a deal to where, with the new technology that we have nowadays, we can have maybe 1 plant, 2 plants, or maybe you know, 5, who knows how many, and we can bring the water, and that should give us enough water for irrigation or for so many things that we will need in the future. So I think we need, in the long term, we need to look at what, like I said, what Israel is doing and many other countries in the region to make sure that we have water, not depend so much on groundwater or the rain that unfortunately we are not getting.
And Mr. Rodriguez, how much of a stake does the federal government have to take then when it comes to states' water rights and standing up for Arizona? Does Congress need to incentivize having more of a plan for groundwater pumping?
I do think that we need to step up and we need to stick up for Arizona's water rights. I've got a business in Yuma, and one of my customers owns a 10,000-acre farm out there, and we've got very high water rights out there, but they're being renegotiated in 2026, and that's something that we really need to look at. 90% of the vegetable crop in winter comes from Yuma, and I think that's something that we really need to look at.
And also, just as a quick follow, we've also seen you know, other countries buying out land in Arizona, right? So does that need to be regulated?
That definitely needs to be regulated, because what is happening now, and I believe it's Saudi Arabia, so we're taking hay and alfalfa, growing it out here in Arizona, and it takes a tremendous amount of water to grow that. They bale it up and then they ship it overseas, and they ship it over there because it's actually illegal to grow it out there. They can't use the water to grow it out there. So meanwhile, they're taking the water from here and shipping it overseas. So I would possibly propose something like an export tariff on anything like that that's going to be sent overseas, and I think that will quell that situation pretty quick.
Not much time left in the debate, gentlemen, so we're going to ask for some quick answers here, 30 seconds for each of you. First question, and Mr. Rivas, this goes to you first because you invoked it. To what extent should the U.S. be engaging in financial support for countries like Ukraine, and though it's a different category, Israel as well? How would you prioritize that?
If it affects the United States directly, I think we should prioritize it, but not just to spend money just because we want to give, you know, what they call the big corporations that make weapons and missiles and all that. I mean, if it's going to be for the security and the safety of the United States, we should all, you know, definitely get involved, help them out, but not just to make money, because you know, these wars, they kill so many people, and it's just not right.
Mr. Rodriguez, 30 seconds on that.
I think our responsibility as a country is to not inflict any harm on other countries. That doesn't mean that we need to go out and just give them $400 billion to do, you know, to fight a war, because that's killing people. I feel that we need to really pull back that funding. We need to focus on our own country, and we need to stop sending so much over there for the support.
Mr. Butierez, finally to you on this. How much involvement should the U.S. have? How much money should we be spending?
Well, I don't feel we should be giving any money to these other countries unless we're going to get something out of it. I mean, I'm a businessman, and I wouldn't be a successful businessman if I just gave everything away. But that's where I feel on that. We need to take care of our own people. Ukraine, we were going to do a deal with them and buy mineral rights. That didn't go through. It was a good deal for everybody. Ukraine would have made money, Russia would have made money, and we would have been in the heart of the middle of the war, and would have ended the war. But.
I'm going to ask for a vote in favor, vote against for you. The pushback on mining has been protecting tribal land, former instances with cancer. Oak Flat mining, of course, is a big issue in this district. If it makes it to Congress for a vote and you are there, do you vote in favor of Oak Flat mining or against? Mr. Butierez? For or against?
Dang, that's a tough one. I'd have to say for.
Mr. Rivas?
For. I'd vote for it. Cleanly.
So our last question, and this could be opening statement, closing statement, could all wrap it up, but 30 seconds, very quickly, Mr. Gutierrez first. You're running in a district that has long been leaning progressive. What is the issue that would make you stand out most to voters to say, no, I can actually flip this seat in the political sense?
Because one, I'm running for everybody. This is the people, as you saw in 414, Democrats came over with the Republican, we voted together. And I believe that's what's going to happen this time.
Okay,
because I'm running to represent everybody.
Mr. Rivas, what makes you a better candidate in the general election? Give us 20 seconds.
It makes me a better candidate because I have high moral values. I'm doing this because I think it's the right thing to do. I'm not doing it for money. I'm not doing it for fame, anything like that. I think I have a mission to accomplish. And also, yo me puedo comunicar en español con toda la comunidad latinoamericana, toda la comunidad habla hispana. So, muchas gracias a todos mis personas que hablan el mismo idioma. Entonces, I will be able to communicate and be able to make a big difference.
You have 20 seconds, Mr. Rodriguez.
I'm running as a Republican, but I'm going to be able to unite all Democrats, independents, and Republicans. Find a common ground, move forward. I'll break party lines if I have to in a vote in Congress, but I'm going to make sure I do what's right for Arizona.
So it's time for our closing statements. Each of you is going to have 1 minute to wrap it up, and to keep you on time, if we have to, we will politely interrupt you if you run over. So Mr. Butierez, you do have the first go at our closing statement. You have 1 minute.
All right, well, last time I was at the debate, there were some, not some good things said about Mr. Grijalva, and I would like to take my minute to let, I didn't agree with Grijalva on probably anything, but he did serve this community for 50 years, and he deserves respect for that. Okay. That's all I got to say.
Thank you. Mr. Rodriguez, you have 1 minute for your closing statement.
My name is Jimmy Rodriguez. I'm running to represent Arizona's 7th District in Congress. I'm asking for your vote because I am the only candidate here that's going to be able to unite all the parties, move forward, and make a difference for Arizona's 7th District. You could find more information on me at jim4az.com. That's Jim, the number 4az.com. And I'd love to communicate with you. Reach out.
And Mr. Rivas, you also have 1 minute for your final statements and thoughts.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you all very much. I want to ask you for your vote because I'm the person who can take care of so many problems that this district is having, especially the fentanyl crisis. I am a person who have honesty, integrity, and I also believe in God very much. I also, I have never done drugs or been convicted of any crime like my partner here to the side. He was in jail for over 10 years. He was addicted by his own testimony. He was addicted to drugs. And I think if we want to, many people say, let's drain the swamp. And if we want to drain the swamp, we need to start sending people that have good moral values, common sense, and the ability to communicate and the ability to make full sentences. And I think I will do my best, and I will be the best candidate, the best congressman that this district has ever had. Thank you so much, and God bless you.
And we are out of time, I am afraid, so you'll have to take it online to your social media. But we do want to thank each of you for participating in this. We also want to acknowledge Mr. Grijalva's passing as well in the cause for our debate. So we appreciate all of your participation. This does wrap this primary debate, though, with our Republican candidates for Arizona's Congressional District 7. We also will be hosting a debate among the Democratic primary candidates.
And as a reminder, Arizona's special primary election for Congressional District 7 is on July 15th. The voter registration deadline is June 16th, and early voting starts June 18th. All registered voters, including independents, can participate. Head to azcleanelections.gov for more voting information.
And on behalf of our partners at Clean Elections, the Arizona Media Association, Reister, and Arizona Public Media in Tucson, we do thank you for joining us.